Hi everyone, it's Gary here from Echidna Sewing, and today I want to talk to you about the embroidery foot height setting. This is a user determined setting on a lot of Brother model machines, and in particular at the moment we're looking at the Brother VE2200. This will be the same setting as if you had a Dream machine, etc. And to access that setting you go into your control panel button, and it's that little guy there. It looks like a page with lines on it. You need to scroll through to the page that actually has that setting on it, and it'll be on this one on page 5. And there you see it, embroidery foot height. Now you can see here it's got a number of 1.5, and can you see that there's a black box behind the number? That black box means that that is the factory default setting. And what I'm going to do now is stitch this machine at that setting, 1.5. I'm going to stitch on a piece of calico with a standard tearaway stabilizer, and we'll have a look at what this foot height setting means. So let's scroll across to the machine, and there we go, we're all set. So you just saw it stitching at a height of 1.5 in kind of a slow motion effect, and did you notice that the fabric had a little bit of a tiny bit of a tendency to move up and down with the needle? That's called flagging, and flagging of the fabric is a very common cause of thread breaks or missed stitches or just poor stitching in general. So what I'm going to do now is change this setting and go higher. I'm going to take it to 3 mil, and I'm now going to stitch again in slow motion, and you'll see very much an exasperated effect of that flagging that we're talking about. So you just saw a slow motion video of it set at 3 millimeters, and clearly that was too high. You could see the fabric really aggressively flagging up and down with the needle, and that will definitely cause issues. So let's go another contrast. So let's go down to 1 here now and just see what that setting might look like. In fact, we'll go right down to 0.5 and we'll stitch that in slow motion and see what that looks like. So the last video was showing you at 0.5 millimeters at slow motion. Now that was probably too low, and that the foot would have been rubbing a little bit on the stitching and the fabric, and particularly as the design starts to build up with density, then the foot would be rubbing over the density of the design as it builds up. So the trick here is you've just got to set the foot height to a setting that suits the fabric or the application you're about to do. Quite honestly, what I'm doing at the moment, a single piece of calico and a standard tearaway, I would probably set it on 1 and be happy with that. And let's have a look at that now stitching. So in summary, when we're talking presser foot height on these machines, it is all about getting the height of this foot, the embroidery foot, correct in relation to the fabric or the project you're about to stitch on. Clearly, if you were stitching on a very heavy object, maybe a layered quilt or a heavy towel, then you would have a different setting to when you're stitching on perhaps what I'm doing here, calico with a bit of tearaway stabilizer. Imagine if you're stitching on a very fine fabric like satin or something, you probably would go down to that 0.5 setting. But it is a user setting, and the best way to tell if it's right is just look at it. Start the machine stitching, because you can't tell exactly if it's the right height until you start stitching. When you start stitching, just visually have a look at it, make sure the fabric's not flagging up and down with the needle, and make sure this foot is pretty much as close to the fabric as it can be without touching the fabric or impeding its movement at all. It's a very easy user setting. You just go into that control page setting on screen, and I'll show you that again as we scroll back over here. It looks like a button like this on a Brother machine. It has like a page with some lines on it, and you then just scroll across until you find that page, and as I said, on this machine it's on page 5, and there it is. I've still got it set on 1. And remember what I said, whenever you see a black box behind a number on a Brother machine, that means that that is the factory setting. That's the standard default setting. So hope that helps. If you have any other issues with embroidery foot height, and it is an important setting and it's probably the most common cause for thread shredding or breaking, please call us and we'll help you out. Cheers.